When we are faced with a problem, the natural instinct for many is to resist it, to see it as an inconvenience or something that must be removed as quickly as possible. But what if that reaction is not helping us grow, but keeping us trapped in cycles of confusion and suffering? What if the problem itself is not the issue, but our relationship with it? A problem is not a stop sign. It is not a red light telling us to turn back or give up. Rather, it is a signal, a powerful, clear indicator that something in our journey needs our attention, our understanding, our presence. Most people never pause to reflect on this. They get caught in the momentum of life, always trying to avoid the next problem or escape the current one. But in doing so, they miss the very message life is trying to deliver. When a signal appears, it doesn't scream or force itself upon us. It waits. It shows up as discomfort, as tension, as frustration, sometimes even as pain. These are all ways in which the problem communicates with us, and just like any signal, it requires a certain quality of listening. You must become still, you must become quiet, you must allow yourself to observe without judgment. The moment you do this, the signal begins to reveal its purpose. You start to understand that the problem is not against you. It is not a punishment, it is a teacher. Life is full of signals, but problems are the loudest ones. They demand our awareness because they are here to redirect us. Maybe your current path is misaligned with your purpose. Maybe your habits are leading you away from health, clarity, or peace. Maybe your thoughts are filled with fear or negativity. The problem arises not to defeat you, but to alert you that something must shift. This awareness can be incredibly empowering, but only if you are willing to see the problem for what it truly is. That shift in perspective turns you from a victim of circumstance into a student of wisdom. The first step to receiving the signal is to stop reacting. Most people react out of habit. They panic, complain, blame others, or shut down emotionally. These reactions create noise, and noise blocks the signal. But when you train yourself to respond instead of react, you make space for clarity. You make space for learning. You become calm in the storm, and it is in this calm that you begin to hear what the problem is truly saying. Maybe it's telling you to change direction. Maybe it's asking you to let go. Maybe it's showing you a blind spot you've ignored for too long. Whatever it is, the message is always for your growth. Problems do not block your path. They asterisk the path. This is a concept that must be deeply understood if you wish to transform your life. Every difficulty is not random. It has structure. It has purpose. It comes with timing. When you recognize this, your attitude shifts. You stop dreading problems and begin approaching them with curiosity. You ask questions like, "What is this teaching me?" or "Where is this guiding me?" These questions are signs of a maturing mind, one that no longer runs from discomfort, but welcomes it as a vehicle of progress. Think of a person who has achieved deep wisdom. That wisdom did not come from a life free of struggle. It came from someone who faced problem after problem and chose to listen, chose to grow, chose to extract the lesson instead of just endure the pain. That is what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. It is not luck. It is not talent. It is awareness. It is the ability to recognize a signal and work with it rather than against it. Life is not random. It is intelligent, but we must meet that intelligence with our own willingness to pay attention. There is a deep stillness that emerges when we stop seeing problems as enemies. It is a stillness that allows you to navigate life with strength and grace. The same storm that frightens one person into hiding gives another person the opportunity to grow stronger wings. The difference lies in how they interpret the signal. Do you see it as something sent to destroy you or something sent to develop you? This single choice determines how you experience every obstacle in your life. And once you begin to interpret problems as signals for growth, you unlock an inner power that few people ever discover. The ability to turn pain into wisdom, confusion into clarity, resistance into redirection. This is what makes someone resilient, and resilience is not built through comfort. It is forged in the moments when you choose to face the signal, sit with it, and learn from it. This doesn't mean every problem will feel good. It doesn't mean the lessons will be easy, but it does mean that you will never be the same after you've faced them with full presence. You will evolve. You will rise, you will become someone capable of handling deeper challenges with greater peace. In time, this approach becomes natural. You no longer flinch when a problem appears. You breathe, you observe. You listen, and then you move forward, not as someone who has been beaten by life, but as someone who has been shaped by it. This is the path of mastery, not avoiding hardship, but using it. Turning every problem into a stepping stone, every challenge into a chapter, every signal into a story of growth. When you truly grasp that a problem is a signal and not a stop sign, your fear begins to dissolve. You realize that nothing is ever really in your way. It is showing you the way, and this truth becomes a source of strength that no one can take from you. Resistance is a force we all feel when we are confronted with something unfamiliar, uncomfortable, or threatening to our current sense of identity. It is the tension that rises when change approaches, when effort is required, or when we are faced with the unknown. But resistance is not the enemy, it is the mirror. It reflects back to us the areas of our lives, minds, and spirits where growth is not only possible but necessary. Most people try to avoid resistance, suppress it, or escape from it. They think if they ignore it, it will go away. But resistance does not vanish. It waits. It waits until you are honest enough, brave enough, and still enough to look into it deeply and recognize its purpose. Resistance always reveals something. It shows you the boundaries of your comfort zone, the limitations of your thinking, and the false narratives you hold about yourself and the world. When you feel resistance, your first instinct might be to push it away. But that instinct is not one of wisdom. It is one of fear. Fear of change, fear of failure, fear of facing the truth about where you are and where you're meant to be. But when you begin to treat resistance not as an obstacle but as a message, your perspective transforms. You stop asking how to avoid it and start asking what it's trying to show you. Every time you feel resistance, it is like a mirror being held up in front of you. That mirror shows you where you are hesitant, where you are attached, and where you are resisting not just the task in front of you, but your own evolution. The process of growth is never smooth because it requires shedding old layers. These layers could be habits, beliefs, or identities that no longer serve you. But the shedding process is uncomfortable. It comes with resistance. You might feel tired, doubtful, or frustrated. You might want to return to what is easy and familiar. That's the voice of resistance speaking, and yet that voice is also the doorway. Behind the discomfort is transformation. Behind the doubt is clarity. Behind the resistance is power. But you must be willing to go through it, not around it. Avoidance strengthens resistance, acceptance dissolves it. When you face resistance directly, you become aware of its origin. You begin to notice the thoughts that arise in its presence. Perhaps they say you're not good enough. Perhaps they warn you of failure or embarrassment. These thoughts are not truth. They are echoes of past experiences, fears inherited from others, or stories you've told yourself to feel safe. When you see them clearly, you realize that resistance is not a wall, it is a fog. It appears solid, but when walked through with presence, it dissolves. What you find on the other side is always a clearer version of yourself. There is no progress without friction. Just as a blade is sharpened through grinding, and a muscle is strengthened through resistance, the human spirit is refined through the pressures it faces, but only if you face them consciously. If you avoid the resistance, it turns into regret. But if you walk through it, it becomes resilience. This is not just theory. This is observable in every aspect of life. Artists feel resistance before creating. Athletes feel it before pushing their limits. Leaders feel it before making bold decisions, but the ones who grow are not the ones who are fearless. They are the ones who move forward in spite of the fear. They recognize resistance as a signpost that says, you are on the edge of your next breakthrough. There is wisdom in the body as well. When you begin a new physical discipline, like martial arts or endurance training, your body resists. It aches, it tires. It wants to return to its old patterns, but consistent practice begins to change the body. The resistance weakens, the strength increases. The same applies to the mind. If you begin to confront your thoughts, your excuses, your negative patterns, at first it feels difficult. Your mind rebels. But as you continue, it adapts. It becomes clearer, stronger, more focused. Resistance is a sign of growth trying to happen. You must learn to welcome it, not fight it. Think of resistance as a guardian at the gate. It guards the entrance to every new level of life. You cannot sneak past it. You cannot bribe it. You must face it. You must look at what it reflects and acknowledge it fully. Only then will the gate open. Only then can you step into the next phase of your becoming. This process may be uncomfortable, but discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that something real is happening, that you are being stretched, that you are evolving. The greatest illusion is that comfort equals happiness, but comfort is not fulfillment. Comfort is the absence of challenge, but also the absence of change. If you want to grow, to fulfill your potential, to live a meaningful life, you must become comfortable with being uncomfortable. You must learn to sit with resistance and let it guide you, not dominate you, not paralyze you, but teach you. It teaches you where you're holding on too tightly, where you're playing small, where you're still afraid, and each time you face it, you become more honest, more awake, more alive. This is not a one-time process. Resistance returns at every new level of growth. The resistance you feel at the beginning of your journey is not the same as what you'll feel later, but it will be there always as a reminder that you are entering new territory. So when it arrives, greet it like an old teacher. Say, "Thank you for showing me where I still need to grow." And then move forward, step into the fear, sit with the doubt. Do not let it define you, let it refine you. The mirror of resistance is a sacred tool. It shows you what still needs attention, what still needs healing, what still needs strength. It does not lie, it does not flatter, it tells the truth. And if you're willing to look into it with open eyes and an open heart, you will begin to see the person you are capable of becoming. That vision may scare you, because it will require more of you than you've given before. But it is also a beautiful vision, a powerful one, one that calls you forward into your highest self. Every time you meet resistance with courage, you create momentum. That momentum builds discipline. That discipline becomes a foundation, and from that foundation you rise. You rise into clarity, into purpose, into the full expression of your potential. So do not run from resistance, run toward it, not recklessly, but with wisdom, with the awareness that what you resist the most may be the very thing that holds the key to your growth. Let resistance be the mirror that shows you the truth, and let that truth set you free. Every challenge that arises in life carries within it a hidden lesson, one that is rarely seen by those who rush, react, or resist. It is not the loudest moments in life that teach us the most, but the quiet ones where we are forced to slow down, to feel, and to look beneath the surface. In these moments of struggle and difficulty, we are offered an invitation, not just to overcome something, but to discover something about ourselves. But this discovery does not happen automatically. It requires stillness. It requires attention. It requires a level of presence that many are unfamiliar with, because we live in a world that constantly tells us to do more, move faster, and avoid pain. Yet the real transformation happens not in the noise, but in the silence we create to listen to what life is truly teaching us. A problem is never just a problem, it is a messenger, it is an opportunity in disguise. The pain that comes with it is the wrapping paper, the lesson is the gift inside, but if you only focus on the discomfort, you will miss the message. Stillness is what allows you to unwrap the situation slowly and with care. In stillness, your mind becomes clear, your emotions settle, and your inner voice, the one that speaks not from fear but from wisdom, can finally be heard. This is why those who cultivate the ability to be still, especially during storms, always emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned. They don't just survive problems, they are changed by them in a meaningful way. When a challenge enters your life, your immediate thoughts may be filled with frustration, anger, or fear. These are natural responses, but they are not the end of the story. Beneath those emotions lies a deeper truth waiting to be seen. Stillness is the key that unlocks that truth. It is not passive. It is not about doing nothing. It is about creating the space within yourself to feel everything without being overwhelmed by it. It is about observing the patterns that rise up, the thoughts that loop, the judgments that form, and watching them without clinging to them. In that space of observation, you begin to see what lies beneath the surface of the challenge. Often, what you find is not just insight into the problem itself, but into your own inner world. For example, a failure in your work might not only be about external circumstances. It may reveal a hidden fear of inadequacy, a lack of self-belief, or an attachment to control. A conflict in a relationship may not only be about the other person. It may reveal your patterns of communication, your expectations, or your emotional wounds that have not yet healed. But none of this can be seen if you are moving too quickly, blaming others, or running from the discomfort. Only stillness gives you the vision to see clearly, the courage to face yourself, and the humility to admit what is real. It is in stillness that wisdom is born. When you stop trying to fix everything immediately, when you stop chasing solutions outside of yourself, and instead become present with what is, you enter a deeper dimension of understanding. This understanding does not always come in words. Sometimes it comes as a feeling, a shift in energy, a knowing that arises from within. The challenge may not change right away, but you do. You become more grounded, more stable, more accepting. And from that space, your decisions become clearer, your actions more aligned, and your response more effective. Stillness does not make you weak. It makes you powerful in a different way, the kind of power that comes from inner mastery, not external control. There is a reason why in so many ancient traditions, silence and solitude are revered as tools for awakening. When you remove distractions and turn inward, you begin to see what has been hidden beneath the noise. Stillness sharpens your perception. It tunes you in to subtle truths, intuitive nudges, and deeper awareness. In the context of problems and challenges, this means that the answer you're looking for is often not far away. It is simply buried beneath layers of reactivity and noise. When you practice stillness, even in the midst of difficulty, you create a pathway for that answer to rise up and reveal itself. Many people believe that doing more is the way to solve everything, but often what is needed is to pause and reflect. That pause is where insight enters. It is the space where you can ask better questions. What is this really about? What part of me is being tested? What belief is being challenged? What emotion is asking to be felt rather than suppressed? These questions do not have quick answers. They unfold in the quiet, and the more you practice listening, the more you realize that every challenge is like a doorway to self-awareness if you are willing to step through it with attention and care. It is important to understand that stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of awareness. You can be still even while taking action if your mind is clear and your heart is steady. You can face challenges with strength, not because you are forcing your way through them, but because you have taken the time to understand what they are really about. This is the essence of wisdom, and wisdom is not something given. It is something discovered within the spaces that pain and pressure create, within the moments where you choose to breathe rather than react, to pause rather than push. As you grow more familiar with this practice, you start to approach problems differently. Instead of fearing them, you meet them with curiosity. Instead of rushing to get rid of them, you explore what they are revealing. You start to see that life is not working against you. It is working with you, through the very difficulties you once tried to avoid. Every situation, no matter how painful, becomes a portal to deeper growth. And every time you meet that pain with stillness, you train your inner eye to see the hidden gift inside it. This shift does not happen overnight. It is a discipline. It is a choice made again and again, to slow down, to observe, to sit with discomfort without judgment. But each time you make that choice, you build inner strength. You begin to trust yourself, not because you can control everything, but because you can be present with anything. That presence becomes your power. It becomes your peace. And from that peace, clarity arises like the sun rising after a long night. In this way, every challenge becomes more than just a temporary problem. It becomes a sacred moment of learning, a mirror showing you what's within, a reminder that the answers you seek are already inside you, waiting for you to be still long enough to hear them. So let the storms come, let the problems arise. Meet them not with fear, but with presence, not with resistance, but with stillness. And in that stillness, let the hidden lesson rise and guide you forward. Mastery does not begin with control over others or over the world outside. It begins the moment you stop fighting the problems you encounter and start flowing with them. The more you resist what life presents, the more tangled your path becomes. The more you open yourself to the reality of each moment, even the difficult, confusing, or painful ones, the more you begin to experience true inner strength. People often think that mastery means being above problems, untouched by them, unaffected by any struggle. But the real mastery is found in those who embrace the flow of life, who adapt like water, who bend without breaking, who move forward not because life is easy, but because they have made peace with how it unfolds. When problems arrive, many people default to resistance. They tense up, they look for a way out, they wish things were different. In that moment, they are no longer connected to life as it is. They are lost in a version of how they think life should be. That separation creates suffering, but when you stop resisting and begin flowing, you return to presence. You return to a state of cooperation with life rather than conflict with it. You begin to say, yes, this is what's here, and I will meet it as it is. That simple inner shift turns a moment of pain into a moment of power. Flow is not the absence of effort. It is the alignment of effort with reality. When you swim with the current, you do not lose your strength. You use it wisely. In the same way, when you work with your challenges instead of fighting them, your energy is conserved, your mind becomes calm, and your decisions become clearer. Life does not demand perfection. It demands presence. And presence only comes when you stop wasting your energy trying to push away what already is. You begin to ask different questions, not why is this happening to me, but how can I grow through this? Not how do I escape this, but what is life trying to teach me here? These questions open you, they soften your grip. They invite you to lean into the experience, to trust it, and to transform through it. The idea of flowing with problems may seem counterintuitive to those who have been taught that strength is about domination, control, and certainty. But real strength is not rigid, it is fluid, it adjusts, it observes, it listens. It adapts to the changing rhythm of life, just like a martial artist who responds to each movement without hesitation or fear. There is power in stillness, but there is also power in movement, especially when that movement is in harmony with what is rather than against it. When you stop fighting problems, you start to see them as part of your training. Each one teaches you something, each one sharpens your awareness, each one invites you to rise beyond your old patterns and beliefs. Sometimes flowing with a problem means allowing yourself to feel deeply without judging those emotions. Sometimes it means taking a step back, allowing space before responding. Sometimes it means taking action, but from a calm and centered place rather than one of panic or anger. Flow is not passivity. It is intelligent response rooted in acceptance. When you develop this way of being, you become grounded in the midst of chaos. You move through difficult conversations with compassion. You navigate loss with grace. You face uncertainty with quiet courage, not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the process of growth that every problem is a part of. Imagine a river meeting a rock. It doesn't stop. It doesn't curse the obstacle. It doesn't turn back. It flows around it, over it, through it. And in doing so, the rock is shaped over time. The river remains true to its nature. It keeps moving. This is the way of mastery. You don't deny the presence of obstacles. You meet them with movement. You trust that no matter what stands in front of you, there is always a way forward, not by force, but by wisdom. You do not become less when you face problems. You become more aware, more flexible, more in tune with the deeper rhythm of life that is always calling you forward. When you flow with problems, you begin to see how much of your suffering came not from the problem itself, but from your refusal to accept it. From your need to control, to predict, to hold on. Mastery begins when you let go of that need, when you stop gripping so tightly to the illusion that you must always be in control. Control is exhausting. Flow is liberating. It doesn't mean you stop caring or that you give up. It means you choose to care in a different way, with more trust, with more clarity, with more inner balance. This shift in perspective transforms your entire experience of life. Challenges no longer feel like punishments. They become practices. Tests become tools. Pain becomes purification. And slowly, moment by moment, you become someone who is not shaken by storms, but shaped by them. Someone who does not demand that life be easy, but chooses to be present even when it's hard. Someone who knows that true mastery is not about avoiding the river's turbulence. It's about learning to move with it and remain at peace in its depths. This is why the ancient wisdom of many traditions speaks of surrender, not as weakness, but as strength. To surrender to what is, to surrender to the lesson, to surrender to the unfolding moment, is to step into the current of life fully awake. It is not defeat, it is alignment, and from alignment comes resilience. From resilience comes freedom. When you stop fighting the problems you encounter and start flowing with them, you begin to realize that life has always been trying to show you something deeper. Every problem has been a portal. Every struggle has been a teacher. Every fall has been an invitation to rise not harder, but wiser. Mastery is not found in escaping struggle. It is found in embracing it with open eyes, a calm heart, and a steady breath. It is found in letting go of the need to control outcomes and choosing instead to trust the process. It is found in learning to dance with the unpredictable, to breathe in discomfort without losing your balance, to act with integrity even when the path is unclear. In doing this, you do not just survive, you thrive. You grow in ways that only adversity can make possible. You evolve not by force, but by flow. And this is the quiet, enduring power of a person who has stopped fighting and started flowing. With life, with pain,